the MISL came out of one of the recommendations of a study that was done in 2000. It was done by ECLAC. Yeah, I think that particular one for St. Lucia was done by Cuthbert Didier. And one of the recommendations was that the industry needed a trade body. So the Marine Industries Association of St. Lucia was formed. Right? Coming out of that, I had just retired from cable wireless and I was looking for something worthwhile to do. And I was very pleased to be able to get involved in that because you spoke of my association with the sea. A lot of people don't realize that, but it goes back to much further than what is currently known. When people think of mention the Compton name, it's associated with you know what. The Compton family came to these islands from the south of England as shipwrights, shipbuilders, to the island of Canawan. So this is where my great-grandfather pitched up in somewhere in the mid-19th century as the boat builder to whoever owned the island of Canawan at that time. And then, the tradition, the boat building tradition was maintained. Well, it's a trade organization, right? And the intention was to further the interests of the participants in that sector. And these were not just boat people, these were suppliers to the industry. So for instance, Lucia is a member. Sol Rubis is a member. In addition to that, you have at the back of us there, you have Carnival Sailing, right? They're actually practitioners of the trade. But there's a lot of people who are suppliers, who are members. And like any sector, you have the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, looking after the interests of its members, the business community. And the MISL was designed to look after these interests. And also to further the interests of the yachting sector in general. For instance, to put St. Lucia on the map, as it were, of for the yachting, the itinerary of the yachting public. So that's and also to advise governments, the government in this case, our government, as to what's in the best interest of the sector. If you speak to anybody in the industry, they would say to you that we would like to see a lot more involvement from officialdom. Because if you look around, the closest comparison I can make is to the level of investment that governments, not just in St. Lucia, but in the region, invest in, for instance, the cruise industry. Here in St. Lucia now, we're extending the Point Seraphim docks to be able to take bigger ships. And that is funded by taxpayers. Yeah, all of the developments which have taken place in the yachting sector, the physical infrastructure, has been undertaken by the private sector, and we have tried to get successive governments more interested in providing funding, providing support, institutional support, for instance. It is in the nature of boats that things happen, things break down, and they have to be repaired. Yeah, and in some cases, carrying out these repairs can be critical. If you're in a yacht and your toilet fails, you're going to sink. Yeah, so we need to develop the skill sets to be able to sustain not just our sort of native yachting industry, but the demands which are placed on the industry by the foreign visitors. Because in the Ark, for instance, we're coming up to Ark season. The boats will come down to St. Lucia. They will enjoy the regulation-free period of how many days, and they'll take off to Martinique to do their repairs. Now, I know for a fact that we have tried to get government's priority listings for educational assistance to include yachting skills, and that has not really met with the success that we would like to see. In that instance, I think the yachting sector is perhaps a victim of its own relative success. Yeah, We don't have the kind of data that is necessary to present to the authorities. You know, the cruise ship sector is well documented in terms of, you know, the number of visitors. But this is something that might surprise a lot of people in the major yachting destinations, like Fort Lauderdale, for instance. Yachting is a bigger contributor to the South Florida economy than the cruise industry. Yachting is a bigger contributor to the South Florida economy than the citrus industry. You know, and as I said, it's in the nature of things in the yachting industry that you will need to do repairs, you need to do upgrades, and so on. But one of the things that I think we really need to focus on is getting the local people more involved in boating. I use the term boating deliberately as a career. Yeah, we don't see too much of that. What we have here, we've got a lot of, you know, we've got the half shores across the street there. They, you know, they engage in deep sea fishing and this and that. And you've got the other sort of coastal cruises. Everybody's going to the same destination at Scotia or wherever. And by and large, we remain at that level. But, you know, what I would like to see is that we, the local people, can become, you know, the yacht owners in our own right as the visitors. We have, I mean, there's been reference to something called yachting tourism. I mean, I disagree fundamentally with that concept. Yeah. As I said, a yachtsman is a yachtsman. He's a visitor to, you know, to a territory. He's not, in the classical sense of the word, a tourist. And his needs as a visitor to a destination are different to the needs of your backpacking or even well-heeled tourists. Yeah. You know, the sort of thing that he does, or if he would be inclined to do onshore, completely different. To, you know, he's not going to be boarding a bus and going on a package tour around the island. You know, if he wants to go to another village, you jump in his boat and go down there. And there is a certain rugged individualism, yeah, about that particular lifestyle. And I mean, if you've been out boating, and something that you may have noticed along the way is that when boats go past each other, everybody waves everybody else. Now that is a long-held tradition. In that, you know, 10 minutes after this waving is taking place, you might be shouting, "Mayday, come rescue me!" And people are very, very. I mean, the yachting fraternity is like that. They will scramble to help, you know, their fellow yachtspeople. Yeah. So I mean, the lifestyle also implies a certain, if you like, a lack of, you know, planned itineraries. You know, the yachtsman may be leaving St. Vincent, going to Martinique, going to the Grenadines, and certainly alongside St. Lucia, you know. So, oh, why don't I stop here? And he does. I mean, safety and security has become a mantra over the years. Safety is far more important. The question of security, I'm not quite sure what is meant. Are we talking about the security of the yachtspeople, or are we talking about the threat, or the alleged or implied threat posed by these people? I'm yet to come across instances of yachtsmen driving up, you know, somewhere and blowing things up. Yeah. But there's been lots of instances the other way around of the security, the personal security, and the security of the yacht. Right? The question of security and safety is going to be undertaken by a single agency. We will have regular patrols, and when we get a hold of these people, I mean, sometimes, for instance, the yachts people they can't sit around forever waiting for a court case. Yeah. Um, we now have at our disposal, we now have the technology to do video conferencing and have these people, attend to, and let us pursue the matter. This does two things. It sends a message out to the wider world that yes, we are concerned about this and we are taking the necessary steps, to address these problems when they arise. And I think from the point of view of the yachts people themselves, they're bound to feel more secure, sitting on their boats in the bay at night. Yeah. I mean, St. Lucia, for instance, St. Lucia has been the scene of a lot of naval battles back in antiquity. We should be able to stage, on the anniversary of one of these things, a tall ships regatta. There's been the Battle of Cul-de-Sac, which was one of the most important battles fought between the French and the British. On the anniversary, maybe we should think of getting something. But we need to get, in my view, we need to do a lot more to attract local people into this industry. There's not enough local interest. It can grow. You can have local regattas in each village. All you need is to start with, you need about 4, so that you can begin to get an interest. But there are other elements, there are other efforts to introduce young sailors, young people into the sailing thing. And believe it or not, that's been done by the Yacht Club. Yeah. They go to Martinique every year to the town of Shellshare and compete in the local junior regattas. This is the gommier, which is made, it's a dugout made from the gommier tree. I can't give you the Latin name, I'm afraid. But the gommier is a dugout which was used for fishing originally, and to a degree transport, between coastal villages and Castries, for instance. There are 2 societies in Martinique, and they have these rallies. They have localized rallies, on a Sunday in preparation for their grand affair. The Tour de Yole in Martinique is really quite big. It's been going for maybe close to 30 years. And it's a 7-day regatta around the island of Martinique in the 7 stages, And it happens at the end of July, the week which straddles end of July, beginning of August. And it is a formidable sight. Right? There's 18 boats competing, handicaps and all that. There's all sorts of rules. These boats have no keel, and the sails are massive. So the counterweight and so on is provided by these outriggers, and very heavy people sort of counterbalancing the force of the wind. I'm afraid that you and I wouldn't be able to participate in that. There's gommiers coming from Martinique. There's a trait d'union, it's called. The gommiers come to St. Lucia from the south of Martinique, from St. Luce, and they come down, and normally they have a little local regatta in the bay at Groseille. It used to be a lot bigger, but I think it's, they're falling on hard times getting sponsorships and all of that. But I'm trying to create an interest in that here. For instance, I've spoken to the fishermen in Canaries, which has the largest gommier population, and I'm trying to persuade them to trade their gommiers for the bigger pirogue, the fiberglass thing, so that we can use these gommiers for sport.